Becoming Led Zeppelin will feature the first ever authorized documentary about the legendary rock band, and it will debut on Netflix beginning June 7th. In creating the film, director Bernard McMahon spent 5 years pouring over hundreds of hours of archival footage and unseen performances. However, some things you will not see on it are here. Jimmy Page was known then as a Satanist or occultist. Though Jimmy Page tries to distance himself from it.
Do you think that's why people did that thing when they played Stairway to Heaven backwards and said that you were talking about Satan?
Yeah, well, you know, I'm going to go straight back to the Beatles here, because there was a time when somebody wrote a thesis about Paul McCartney being dead, and Paul is dead. And if you played back the records, I'm very serious here, it's crazy, but if you played back the records, there was something which said Paul is dead. And so then they started to play back all manner of records, and of course we were going to be main candidates for it. And somebody said, oh, it says My Sweet Satan in it. And I thought, oh gosh, it's hard enough writing the music one way round rather than that way.
However, some may not be convinced of this, so here are the facts.
Fast forward now, and you can kind of get a feel for the song. Very mellow, you know, almost pretty. Very interesting guitar.
I noticed one little phrase here, because you know sometimes words have two meanings.
Right.
That's in the second verse there. That really caught my attention.
Think, you know, we've proved that tonight. Yeah. Revolution number 9 says Turn Me On Dead Man backwards. Two meanings. Other pieces in here, there's a feeling I get when I look to the west. And in medieval times, the west was the direction of hell, because that's where the sun died, in the west. Sun was born in the east, that was the direction of heaven. There's a feeling I get when I look to the west, and my spirit is crying for leaving. And I'll read the last verse for you, because it's very interesting. It says, and as we wind on down the road, our shadows taller than our soul, there walks a lady we all know who shines white light and wants to show how everything still turns to gold. And if you listen very hard, the tune will come to you at last, when all are one and one is all, to be a rock and not to roll. If you listen to the tune.
All right, now you're going to play this backwards.
Right. To get critics even, you know, or the skeptics, to show them what I'm going to do, I've actually taken the exact piece of tape that you just heard it off of, and I've reverse thread the machine, and I'm going to play that exact piece of tape backwards now. Okay, just to
prove that you've not doctored it in any way.
I have not doctored it in any way. All right, let's go ahead and start. Okay.
I heard something there.
All right, listen for I Live With Satan, exactly. You might want to turn it up just a little out here on the floor.
Did you hear that?
I Live With Satan. Listen again. Okay.
As I live with
How
Satan.
many in the audience heard that? All right.
Now let's get that vote on videotape here. How many actually heard that? All right.
All right. Let's go on. All right. Try another piece. This is something I found the other day. See if you hear The Lord Turn Me Off.
Yeah.
Okay.
The Lord. The audience is voting here. They're hearing it.
Let's go on. All right. Try that for you. Slow it down. See if you hear there's no escaping it.
There's no escaping it.
That is actually, and it makes me wonder. When he says, and it makes me wonder, backwards is translated into there's no escaping it. Try it one more time.
all hear that?
All right, we'll go on. You'll hear, here's to my sweet Satan. You'll hear some words, which I could take time to tell you what they are, but I won't. And then you'll hear there's power in Satan. And let's just go on.
Here's to my sweet Satan.
There's power in Satan.
One more time.
He will give you 666.
Yeah. And, you know, again, I can't explain this. I don't know why it's saying that. Let's go on. All right, I'll end it there. I think that gives you an idea of what's on that tape. There's other pieces on further that says they've got to live for Satan, and all kinds of pieces on there.
All right.
Why is there the common denominator, is my question.
Paul Jr. and I were talking about this just...
Jimmy Page practiced magic rituals during his performances. Jimmy Page had definitely performed the Four Corners ritual with his wand and theremin on stage. Any occultist will tell you this standard ritual is used to cleanse a space and prepare for spell work. It is also used to close ceremonies and is alternatively known as calling the corners, casting the circle, and the lesser banishing ritual. It all depends on the magical tradition you are following, but regardless of the many different names and variations of this ritual, the goals are the same. Besides being a musician, Page is widely known for being interested in the occult. Page even bought the Bowles Kine House, a place in the Loch Ness that was once owned by the English occultist Aleister Crowley, who lived there for 14 years. Crowley became infamous for stories of conducting black magic and various other rituals while residing at the house. Crowley founded the religion of Thelema, identifying himself as the prophet entrusted with guiding humanity into the era of Horus in the early 20th century. In fact, Led Zeppelin's third album was inscribed with the phrase, "Do what thou wilt," is a phrase associated with Satanism and Thelema, a religious movement founded by Aleister Crowley. Also, the appearance of the four symbols on the cover of the Led Zeppelin's fourth album has been associated with Page's interest in the occult. Each member of the band had an occult symbol. Page himself called Zoso. The Zoso itself would have appeared for the first time in the book Ars Magica Artificii, or the Magic Works of 1557, written by the alchemist Girolamo Cardano. The symbol of Capricorn has been associated with guitarist Jimmy Page, whose astrological sign is ruled by Saturn or Satan. As in both tarot and astrology, the symbol of Capricorn is the devil. Note also that Jimmy Page opened an occult bookshop and publishing called the Equinox Booksellers and Publishers. Page wrote in his autobiography these words, "There was not one bookshop in London with a good collection of occult books, and I was so pissed off not being able to get the books I wanted." It seems Jimmy Page was, and is, an occultist who is willing to deny the obvious facts of his life, which all point to him being one. Lastly, consider the lyrics and blackmasking on Led Zeppelin's song Stairway to Heaven. Please listen carefully, and then decide for yourself concerning Jimmy Page's words and his religion.